Hello everyone, it's Tammy Wilgenbush with Card Designs by Tammy, and today I am continuing a showcase in the Sale-a-Bration but also the mini catalog. Been showcasing a lot of the products, and what I'm going to be using today I have shown quite a bit before, but it is the Daffodil Afternoon paper that coordinates with the Daffodil Daydream bundle. That is in the mini catalog here. It includes the stamp set and the dies are very complicated, and I have done an entire video previously showing how to layer all the dies and how you can cut out all the pieces to make these beautiful daffodil elements for your cards. But what I'm going to do today is something a little bit different, and I'm going to create a slimline card. And so I'm going to be showcasing the slimline envelopes as well. And there is, for those of you who like to do slimline cards, these envelopes are really nice because they're very pretty and decorative, and specifically made for the slimline cards. In the mini catalog, there is also a bundle. There is a stamp set and then some slimline dies, which will cut out some background for your slimline cards. I have not gotten these yet. They're very pretty, but for me, I probably won't buy them. I don't use a lot of border dies. I probably need to get into that a little bit more. But, and while these dies are really pretty, when I saw the person use them and try to glue them on the card, personally, I feel like I have a hard time like lining things up. And so this one in particular is very flexible, and so I don't think that I'd be able to get it on the card very easily. But they are really pretty elements and dies to give you pieces for nice slimline cards. But I did get the envelopes, and I will show you them. They come in 3 colors. They come in basic white, smoky slate, and soft succulent. And so these are what the envelopes, this one I've already used. This is what they look like, and they each have, you know, decorative insides that goes, I think it goes all the way down. Yep. So this goes all the way down the one side of the card. So these are those slimline envelopes, which is really nice and fun for your slimline cards. And I haven't made a lot of slimline cards, so I decided that when I saw these, I think I needed to start making some more. So that is what we're going to do today. So we're going to use the Daffodil Daydream paper and the Daffodil Daydream stamp set and dies. And we're going to make this slimline card today. So let's get to it. So I've got all my little pieces here, and I have pre-cut and put some things together. Again, I'll kind of talk you through it, but if you want more details on using the dies, you can see one of my previous videos. So I am using a piece of Daffodil Daydream paper. And for the slimline cards that will match the envelopes, the paper is cut at 7 inches, and then it is 8.5 inches. And then we score it at 3.5 inches. So when folded, let me give that a good rub. The card is 3.5 by 8.5 inches. And so, and that will fit perfectly in these envelopes. So that is the sizing, 7 by 8.5, score at 3.5. So it's 3.5 by 8.5. So the designer series paper and the piece for the inside. So this is the piece of the designer series paper that I used. And so this is cut 1/4 inch smaller, which is kind of my standard mat for card fronts. So this is cut at 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. All right. As is the piece of Very Vanilla that I have for the inside. And this paper tends to coordinate better, the Daffodil Daydream paper, with Very Vanilla cardstock than with white cardstock. Even though some of the flowers appear white, it still seems to coordinate better with the Very Vanilla. So again, so this piece of Very Vanilla is the 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. So what we're going to do first is take the flower and glue it on here. So again, there's not a lot to this card. I'm not actually doing a lot of stamping, but definitely did the dies. So you can kind of see how I layered. I did the background of the dies in Daffodil Daydream or Daffodil Delight. And then I did the detailed part, the detailed die in Cajun Craze. And so basically when I'm cutting these out, you have to cut out 6 pieces. You have 2 of the black background petals, 2 of the detailed petals, 1 of the full bloom, and then the detailed bloom in the Cajun Craze. And I use, you can glue these down. I tend to like to use adhesive sheets, which basically you put on the back of the paper before you run it through the die machine. For these dies, I find that that works really well, and I really like to do that. But to save time, I had already kind of put them together. So we have those, and then I cut out 1 of the stems, and they actually, in the dies, they have a stem going this way, and then they have a stem going that way. So I wanted this towards the right side of the paper, so I took the stem that's kind of veering off to the left, and then I just cut out 1 of each of the leaves. And can I kind of figure out how I put them on here? And the leaves I am going to trim down because I do want them a little bit smaller. Let me see if I think that that'll be enough. I kind of want them all meeting at the bottom. Yep, that should do it. Okay, so now I will glue these down, and I do just use my regular Tombow glue for these. And it doesn't take much, honestly. Oops. This glue is pretty strong, so it'll stay on. So I always kind of do that center one first, and then it's easy to just kind of layer these on the side there. And again, I kind of line them up at the bottom because I want them kind of to overlap at the bottom there. I don't know why I like them overlapping at the bottom. You wouldn't have to, but for some reason when I've been doing these, I like them to kind of overlap and come to one central area. So again, it doesn't take a lot of glue for these. And then I just start at the bottom and then just set it down. And they glue really nice and easily there. Okay, so now let me get these. I don't think there's any specific right or wrong way that these go together. But what I do is I kind of put glue in the middle and then put this on top of it. Let me turn it a little bit so that those petals are kind of all in between there. Just hold it for a second, and then I put glue on the back of this one. Or actually, I guess I usually put glue in the center there too, but that's okay. We'll just put glue there. Alrighty. And let me see, I'm gonna grab my mini dimensionals here. And you wouldn't have to add this with dimensionals because it's pretty detailed anyway, but I do like to add some dimensionals to it sometimes. One more right in the middle here. Actually, I'm going to add that at the end after I glue that down. Oops. Okay. So, what do we need next? I want some ribbon to tie around the bottom here to kind of hide that. And so I am using, this is ruched ribbon, and this is Daffodil Delight. And this, I believe, if it is still there, I have not looked. This is in the clearance section. So this is kind of a retired ribbon, but it was available in the clearance section. That is how I got it. So hopefully it is still there if you like it, but it works really well with this Daffodil Afternoon paper and Daffodil Daydream stamp set. So I'm just going to do a bow down here. And notice I am tying it upside down. That is a trick that I heard about actually on a YouTube video, and it works amazingly well. When you tie it upside down, for some reason, these bottom pieces lay the way they're supposed to. Something about tying ribbon, I don't know. But it works, so I do it. Okay, so I'm going to kind of center that there. And I have kind of a nice big bow to kind of cover that up. It doesn't cover the stems totally down there, but covers them a little bit. And again, just a nice big ribbon there. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this to the card front, and then we can add the rest of our elements to the card. So these Slimline cards are pretty slick. I really like them. It's just hard because, you know, I don't have any. I like to send my things in pretty envelopes. So before we got these new Slimline envelopes, it was like, yeah, I didn't make them. I don't want to send it in a regular envelope. There probably are pretty envelopes I could buy. I just haven't really looked yet. All right. But actually, I believe these Slimline cards here are going to be for Mother's Day for me. I'm going to give them to my mom and my mother-in-law because they're just so pretty, and I just love this paper. This Daffodil Afternoon paper is beautiful. I just love all of it. Let's put the top bud on here. And then for the sentiment, I've already stamped Happy Mother's Day onto a piece of Very Vanilla and cut it out using the tailored tag punch, which is in the annual catalog. And to do a border, I also punched a piece out in Daffodil Daydream. And if you haven't seen this trick, I'll come in with my paper cutter here and try to get it up high enough so that you can see the bottom here what I'm doing. So, and I don't know, I always line it up at the bottom one instead of the top one. It's just easier for me. So I line it up. And the one thing that I really like about the Stampin' Up cutter is that it does have small grooves here for smaller pieces of paper. My other cutter doesn't have these grooves here, so when you're doing like a 1/2 inch paper, there's nothing to kind of line up a narrow strip to keep it straight, to kind of make sure it's straight, whereas this does have those grooves. So just put it there, and then you basically just cut this in half. And then, and it works with the tailored tag. I haven't tried it with any other tags, but it works well with the tailored tag, because even though it doesn't show on the sides, it still gives you a really pretty mat. So this is probably one of my favorite punches for sentiments because of that little trick. And let me get it lined up here. So again, you can kind of see, you just get a fun little but colored border, which is really nice. Sometimes sentiments can just seem so stark against, because they're whiter, just very vanilla compared to the rest of the paper. So it's kind of nice to have something that kind of can help coordinate it and bring in that main color from the card or another color from the card. So there we go. And then this is also going to get added with dimensionals. And I'm using mini dimensionals for these. You could use regular dimensionals. I don't know why. I tend to like mini dimensionals for a lot of my smaller pieces, and then, you know, the full dimensionals for when I'm adhering larger backgrounds and things. So get those off there. And then kind of just put this up and to that left-hand side there. So there is the card front. For the inside, I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. And I'm going to use the Daffodil Daydream. And I'm going to use these pretty splotches. So I wanted to put some splotches. A lot of times I will use this stamp there kind of for the bottom inside, but I decided I wanted some splotches, and I want my splotches to go like that. Oh shoot. You know what? And I'm going to show you something here. I've done it with a couple of these stamps. Let me clean it off here. But especially with some of the rubber stamps, I noticed I was having that problem on the butterfly. I don't know if you can see, but I was having that problem where ink would get on the you know, the rubber part of the stamp, and then you accidentally rotate the stamp and then you get a line. Well, With the rubber stamps, one of the things you can do, I don't know if you can see here, but I actually cut off that part of the rubber of the stamp, and it doesn't do anything to the stamped image, but then it keeps from doing that. And so this piece up here, I don't know if I'll be able to get it or not, but I'm gonna try. Just kind of trim that ribbon, and I'm just gonna try to follow the stamp there. And then that just kind of helps keep it from rotating and getting ink that you don't want on your card. So let's try this again. And maybe I pushed too hard on my stamp, so it very well could be my fault. But voila. And it's still a little bit there, so I still probably will come in and kind of trim that over there. There we go. Yep, and it still is doing that. So let me, I'm gonna clean it off. And I am gonna come back, and this seems to be kind of the problematic area right over here. So we'll just trim that a little bit closer to the image. And that should work. Alrighty. So I'm going to put that stamp away since I was already messing with it. I'm also going to stamp a little butterfly down at the bottom here. I wonder if a third one would fit. No, a third one won't really fit, so we'll just stick with the two. Okay. So again, I'm not doing too much stamping on these. Gotta clean that off. I always like to clean my stamps right away so I don't forget. All right, let me add this then to the inside of the card, and then we are almost done. I often will stamp the envelope. I probably won't stamp the envelope for this one. Oh, I guess I could stamp it, the butterfly in black again. Okay, let's line this up and get that all glued down good. There we go. And I'm going to use the soft succulent one, and I think I am going to stamp the butterflies just in the corners. There we go. Oh, it just kind of coordinates. I am just stamping all over the off of the stamps today. I don't know what's up with me. You know, sometimes I do a really good job, and sometimes I just tend to do that a lot. So I don't know. Oh, well, these are not for sale or anything. They're just going to my family, so they can deal with a little bit of imperfection. That's what happens when you make cards. Never get it absolutely perfect. At least I never do. Maybe other people do, but I don't. So there we go. A really pretty slimline card using the Daffodil Afternoon and Daffodil Daydream stamp set and bundle. So very cool. And I think I've shown some of these cards before, But I wanted to show a couple of the different cards that I've made using this stamp set. And I guess I should take them out of the cases so you can see it better. So this one, I used the Scalloped Contours die to actually cut out the designer series paper. And I used white with Pale Papaya and Flirty Flamingo for the daffodil. I really kind of liked that look. And then I have the champagne rhinestones, which seem to go really good with the Pale Papaya. I was really excited to kind of use this different coloring. I use, for almost all of my cards, I use the Daffodil Delight and Crushed Curry, but I kind of wanted to follow this designer series paper and try that combination, and so I really liked it. And then this is one of the other ones I've done that I know I haven't shown before. And this one actually shows the stamps that are part of this set. For most of the cards, honestly, the dies have been the star of the show, the dies in the paper. But I wanted to kind of show this stamp set with the coloring. So I colored them in Daffodil Delight and the leaves in Evening Evergreen. And I don't have my Flirty Flamingo. I just ordered my Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blend, so I used Polished Pink there because it was the closest one I could think of. So yeah, so that is the coloring there, which I really like. So that's the only one I've colored so far. I probably should try to do some more of those, but I just love these dies so much that I just couldn't resist them. So there you go, some other cards with the Daffodil Afternoon designer series paper, and I will be putting together a full tutorial of all of these cards that I've made using this paper and stamp set. So be on the lookout for that. That will be on my blog once it's available. And if you need any help and don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, feel free to reach out. My blog information is below. It has my email, so you can reach out and ask me any questions. Please subscribe and hit that like button. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching today.